Hello, hello, mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. All right. I don't know what that ringing was. I checked the mic earlier, it was fine. Okay. Let me do this. Let me reshare my screen. I guess that's what people have been talking about when they've been talking about hangouts, that it's, you know, it's messing up on people. All right. So, like I said, um, well, what I was saying earlier, this first few articles are going to be about the first hearing from um, the Senate committee, um, the Senate Banking Committee hearing involving Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description to the hearing. The first one was 2 hours, 21 minutes long. It was pretty good. Um, a few laughs here and there, a few sarcastic tones and shots here and there. A lot of it was pertaining to Facebook's past history of un of pertaining to your data with the Cambridge Analytica. They really pointed on that, and what they were trying to do was say, hey, with your past transgressions, do you really believe we're going to trust you with people's money now? So like I said, I'll leave a link in the description to um, both hearings, because it was two hearings. I know there's three links. The second hearing with the House of Representatives, it's a two-part. The first part is 4 hours and 10 minutes, and the second part is an hour and 59 minutes. So you may as well say 2 hours long. The second one was more of a grilling. They grilled them more. Excuse me. They grilled them more. That's what the House of Representatives. This one, the Senate, I felt that you had people on both sides of the fence. To be honest, you had people on the side where they didn't particularly trust them, but asked questions, good questions pertaining to, hey, um, are you going to conduct AML, KYC, CFT rules, as opposed to the House Representatives one? And this is David Marcus. The guy on the screen is David Marcus. He's the CEO of Libra, which is a subsidiary of Facebook. Facebook created a subsidiary be to interact with the Libra Association instead of it being Facebook in the Libra Association. So, like I said, I'll leave links to both in the description. The House of Representatives hearing was longer. It was, so that's what, wow, that's 6 hours and 10 minutes long. So you may want to break that up. That's how I've been completely busy covering this stuff. So yeah. All right. So Facebook stresses Libra compliance with FinCEN at Senate hearing. There was a lot of that. They asked them, well, why are you registering in Switzerland? Which I felt David Marcus had a good question, because Switzerland is more of a neutral international place. Hence, you hear a lot of panels say that, we're Switzerland. This is where everyone will come to and say what and say anything they need to say. So I felt he had a good question. I agree with that. I read the Libra white paper. Um, they mentioned it in their white paper also. So I felt he had a good uh, answer for that question. And also, please hit the like button as you all come in. We really do appreciate it. David Marcus, head of Facebook crypto wallet Calibra, stressed Facebook's intent to be compliant with the United States Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, in distributing Libra stablecoin. As a Cointelegraph correspondent reports on July 16, Marcus delivered the comments at the ongoing hearing on Facebook's Libra with the Banking Committee of the U.S. Senate, addressing the issues of money laundering and terrorism financing. Senator Cortez Masto asked Marcus how Facebook is going to ensure that the platform is not being used for such uh, purposes. Marcus responded that this is something that I care about deeply personally. Marcus added that the company will have anti money laundering programs, reiterating Facebook's commitment to FinCEN. Marcus stated that Calibra will be affordable and accessible and also safe and secure, and will comply with FinCEN and state regulation. According to Marcus, Libra Corporation will still register with FinCEN despite the fact that it is registered in Switzerland. Some lawmakers met Marcus' statements with skepticism and concern. Senator Martha McSally questioned Libra's privacy and raised informational concerns, asking why the lawmakers should continue to trust the platform based on your track record of failing and violating and excuse me, deceiving in the past. Senator John Kennedy followed McSally's statement with the question, if Libra catches on and let's say 200 million people are using it, someone is going to have access to all this data. You are telling me that nobody in the Libra Association is going to monetize that data, which is a good question. Tomorrow, July 17, Libra lawmakers from the U.S. House of Well, that's really out the scope. So what David Marcus really did mention, it didn't mention in this article, but he mentioned that the other employees in Calibra do have history with anti-money laundering, AML, KYC, know your customer, and CYCFT, countering the financing of terrorism rules, and that he purposely hired those particular people to because he knew that um, during these hearings that they were going to ask them questions about this. So he purposely hired those type of people. And actually, that question pertaining to 200 million people using the Libra, you know, people do have a hard time believing that Facebook or any other company, any other 27 or up to 100 companies, is not going to monetize that data in any way, shape, or form in the future. So I am agreeing with Senator Kelly, not Kelly, Kennedy with that. It's hard for me to believe that because that's Facebook's bread and butter. Even though Facebook said, "Hey, we started this subsidiary named Calibra to interact with the Libra Association and have us not to interact directly with the Libra Association." I don't, mm-mm, I don't believe Facebook. Is somebody? Let's see here. How you doing, Ago? How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Yeah, man, pretty good, pretty good. I see you getting on there. I totally agree with you as far as well, the Facebook. I don't buy any. I don't buy most of this stuff, but because I think that there's always a slightly bigger agenda behind a lot of what is actually going on. But yeah, I'm in full agreement with you on that.
Yeah, they really grilled him at these hearings.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's Mike?
He probably busy. He probably was at a function. He go to a lot of
Yeah.
tech meetups and things.
Mm,
Mnuchin crypto speech was total validation of Bitcoin. Barry Silbert. Bitcoin proponents were reaching to fresh criticism of cryptocurrency from the United States government July 16, following a press conference with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Mnuchin, who held the 30-minute event on Monday, said he wished to focus explicitly on Bitcoin and Facebook's Libra digital currency protocol. He referred to both as cryptocurrencies, despite an analysis confirming that in fact, Libra is in fact not similarly structured to true cryptocurrencies. As the president he had said, Bitcoin is highly volatile and based on thin air. Mnuchin summarized repeating what he described as concerns aired by Donald Trump on Twitter last week. We are concerned about the speculative nature of Bitcoin and will make sure that the U.S. financial system is protected from fraud, he said. Responding, the Bitcoin industry was predictably buoyant after much of Mnuchin's speech highlighted a lack of understanding about decentralization, while hinting the government's goal was to protect the prowess of their dollar. Complete and total validation of Bitcoin, Barry Silbert, CEO and founder of Digital Currency Group, tweeted. Others took an aim at the myriad ongoing attempts by Washington to get into grips with cryptocurrency and their apparent impotence in the face of an uncontrollable phenomenon. Similar with the President's Working Group on Financial Markets, GATA, no more markets, only manipulations, Trace Mayer summarized, poking fun at Mnuchin's repeated assertion that no one had heard of the Treasury Financial Crimes Enforcement Agency, or FinCEN. So basically, what happened is Steve Mnuchin tried. Well, I want to say he tried to take shots, but he spoke about Facebook's Libra, and he spoke about Bitcoin. He spoke about them in the same manner, meaning they're both cryptocurrencies. Facebook is only using the buzzword of cryptocurrency and blockchains in order to boost their Libra stablecoin or coin or project. It's not, in fact, a true cryptocurrency, and it's not, in fact, a true blockchain. Um, Definitely, it's not a true cryptocurrency, but they're capitalizing on those buzzwords. So while Steve Mnuchin, with the Bitcoin industry is poking fun at is, hey, even though Steve Mnuchin is trying to compare these to Libra and Bitcoin, they're incomparable because they're not the same thing, and thus by telling us, hey, you don't know nothing about Bitcoin. Yeah, you all can go say whatever you want to say about Libra because it's going to compete with you all. It's going to compete with the lobbyists that's been paying y'all to write law that's in favor of the banks. But even though you want to compare these two entities in the public eye, we are of nothing alike. So that's what this article was about. And Bitcoin or Twitter or crypto Twitter really, poke shots at Mnuchin, saying, "Hey, you better look out. Libra's going to be competing with the people that pay you, under the table." I want to say hello to EI's Money. Hello to Running Black. I'll extend the clips. You all please hit the like button as you all come in. We really do appreciate it, and thank you all for tuning in. All right. Um, I don't know if you're going to be on later in the go, but came over an article that spoke about Bitcoin and crypto derivatives, and I'm pretty sure you'll have a field day with that if you are on a little later.
Yeah, that makes me exceedingly nervous. Exceedingly nervous.
Yeah, the what you call them? I forgot what they call them, but they were speaking about the same things that was going on in 2008, introducing them to the cryptocurrency market.
You see, so much of I will consider myself to be very much a capitalist as well, but I'm a realist. I'm more of a realistist than and a pragmatist than anything else. But I understand capitalism, and it can work well if there's certain kind of regulations going around it. But one of the things that really bothered me about the whole Bitcoin market and how and just Bitcoin itself and how the Wall Streeters have come to take it over gives it very much a and this is how the markets are set now. There's a lot of fraud, and it's legal fraud that these guys can get away with, and that's very much a part of Wall Street's business model. And I know a lot of people have a difficult time with what I'm saying, but if you take a look at 2008 and some of the stuff that's going on and what's going on now, you will see that this is true. But that's a big part of the business model, and they're trying to now. He was a more libertarian type of economic deal set up where you could kind of get around this fraud and really play in a very real time market that's real, represented by a real coin backed up by uh, by real assets, and now they're coming in here now and playing the same game, which where once again we'll see those who will have a great deal of money come in with a lot of their bullshit types of scams. Pardon my expression. Um, we'll see some of the same drops. We'll see taxpayers, because we have an exceedingly large tax base here in this country, bail them out one more again, and you'll have the same activities going on in Bitcoin and so forth that you'll
Yeah.
have with the other markets. When I start seeing derivatives, then I start seeing credit default swaps and all this other kind of stuff going on with the same type of modeling in Bitcoin, which are pretty much based on a fraudulent stacked deck game, of which when that gets a part of it, I'm not going to be getting too heavily engaged in Bitcoin either, because I'm going to be looking at basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to put it at that level, but I'm a former Wall Streeter. I was a trader. I understand how this game is played. I understand it quite well. And they're putting the same um, some of the same instruments now in Bitcoin and trying to apply that to blockchain.
Mhm.
Terrifying.
Now we'll get to that article in about 45 minutes because when
Okay.
I read it, even had some Wall Streeters in there and said, "Hey, this is pretty scary." But
Terrifying.
yeah.
Terrifying.
U.S. Libra hearings day one. Lawmakers find it hard to trust Facebook. It's not really news there. United States Senate Banking Committee raised a wave of skepticism over Facebook's crypto project Libra during the first day of testimony. The new hearing, called Examining Facebook's Proposed Cryptocurrency and Its Impact on Consumers, Investors, and the American Financial System, was scheduled for July 17th. And also, down in the description are links to both hearings to both days. As day two is coming in the next few hours, Cointelegraph posts a short recap of yesterday's hearings. The first day saw Senate Banking Committee attack David Marcus, head of Facebook's crypto wallet Calibra, raising major concerns over Libra, including issues of trust, privacy, security, and regulation. The problem of trust has apparently prevailed during the hearing, as Senator Sherrod Brown considered Facebook's dangerous in the very opening remarks. He actually did say that. The senator further expressed his skepticism, expressing doubts that people will trust Facebook with their hard earned money. Elizabeth Warren, senator and Democratic presidential candidate, outlined a lack of evidence that Facebook does not plan to link the platform's user data to their money transactions and those records. She said, and I do quote, "I am not reassured by your statements that you cannot see any reason right now why there wouldn't be any data sharing between these platforms." End quote. There was a question in the first link, which is the Senate House to the Senate Banking Committee hearing. A question, I forgot who asked the question, but it was a question asked that said, "Hey, will there be any data sharing between Calibra and Facebook?" David Marcus, which is CEO of Facebook, he says no. That's why not only did Elizabeth Warren say that, but someone else brought that up, question too. I forgot who said it, but if you look at it, they raised these concerns up. Senator Martha McSally escalated Warren's concerns, pointing out that Facebook's track record of failing and violating and deceiving in the past is a sufficient cause for the committee to not trust the platform at all. Additionally, Senate Banking Committee Chairman Mike Crapo raised a question why the Libra Corporation has chosen to register in Switzerland. In turn, Marcus assured the committee that the association would also register with the U.S. regulators. Specifically, Marcus emphasized Facebook's intention to be compliant with the U.S. Financial Crimes Enforcement Agency, or FinCEN, in distributing its Libra stablecoin. In the hearing, Marcus highlighted the role of Libra in the global leadership of the U.S. and in apparent attempts to mitigate the escalated concerns over the project. He warned that if the U.S. fails to act on the issue, the world will eventually see another crypto initiative that will be controlled by someone else whose values are radically different. He tried to guilt them and fear them into that. Um, yeah. So all this, all these, this article is pertaining to the first Senate hearing. The first hearing, it was two of them, one from the Senate, one from the House of Representatives. This was still about the first Senate hearing, and I'll let you know when we transfer it to the next day of the House of Representatives. They really, dived up in them. The first hearing was 2 hours and 21 minutes. The second hearing was the next day was 6 hours and 10 minutes long. So they really, they they really put their heels into him. Let's get to the second one. All right. Post hearing, excuse me. Ranking Senate committee members discuss regulations. How you doing, Complex Design? How you doing? United States Senators Mike Crapo and Sherrod Brown, respectively, the Senate Banking Committee chair and ranking member, shared their views on crypto regulations. Both appear to want comprehensive policy for big tech companies. The senators made their remarks while speaking with the press following the Senate banking hearing on Facebook Libra. Senator Crapo stressed the importance of building an overarching regulatory framework for data protection, not just for Facebook, for all internet companies looking to launch their own cryptocurrencies, a la the Financial Stability Oversight Council for banks. Crapo said, and I do quote, "We've got to look at how we structure data protection in the United States. We need to move to a comprehensive approach. What that structure exactly is, I can't tell you." End quote. When a reporter asked whether Crapo was calling for a comprehensive privacy law, Crapo confirmed that he was. Senator Brown appeared to agree with Crapo, saying, "It will be hard to do something comprehensive, but I hope we can." Senator Brown also discussed how the public no longer trusts big tech companies. Quote, "Clearly Americans don't trust Wall Street. They now are putting big tech and big banks in the same category because they've seen the betrayal and the undermining of our democratic values in Facebook and in other tech companies." End quote. Brown also discussed a bill under discussion with the House Financial Services Committee, which is Keep Big Tech Out of Finance Act, and still a draft bill, which would make it illegal for big companies in the U.S. to run a digital asset service such as a crypto. Quote, this is from the draft. A large platform utility may not establish, maintain, or operate a digital asset that is intended to be widely used as medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value, or any other similar function as defined by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. And end quote. And that bill doesn't is not just aimed at Facebook. It's aimed at Apple. It's aimed at who's the other A? Apple. I forgot the other A. Netflix, Google, Amazon. It's aimed at other tech companies also. Brown remarked, and I do quote, "I like that she's doing that. I don't know yet. I don't know enough about what she's doing, but I like that she's raising the at issue and wanting to put pen to paper." End quote. As previously reported by Cointelegraph, Libertarian Ron Paul recently spoke up again about his views on cryptocurrencies. According to um, Paul, the government should not be regulating the crypto space for any purpose other than to prevent demonstrable fraud. So, this is the last article we're going to cover about the Senate hearing. As I said during the Senate hearing, uh, when you look at it, you can see a clear, how should I say this, division in people that are kind of for it, or not really for it, but kind of okay, and they want to see if you can just, hey, if you all can settle these concerns that we have, we're okay with you doing this. and we're okay with you, registering it in America. This one to make an American thing, and you have other people such as Elizabeth Warren that she's really for breaking up Facebook and monopoly on certain things and other big tech monopolies on certain things. They're saying, hey, well, you have a history of doing this and you have a history of doing that. We don't trust you. So when you see the first hearing, you can really after it's said and done, and you judge, you can say, okay, I kind of see who's for it and who's kind of against it. Okay, looking at the chat here, see if anyone have any questions. How you doing, Rainy Woman? How you doing, Cheat? All right, Paul, how you doing? I would say, Paul, what about Tether? He says those are the only stable coins we need. I don't say, what about Tether? I've been reading so many articles about Tether and how they've been added to 5 other blockchains so far. I don't think that Tether's going anywhere so anytime soon. All right, key comments from Libra hearing at U.S. House of Representatives. The United States House of Representatives financial. That this is going to the second hearing. Financial Services Committee heard testimony from Facebook David Marcus. Marcus, the CEO of the Calibra wallet service for the social media giant's forthcoming Libra stablecoin, attempted to assuage regulators' concerns regarding the protection and lawmakers, educate lawmakers on its purpose and potential. Cointelegraph has compiled some key quotes from the hearing. So, Representative Maxine Waters said, well, she's the chair of Financial Services Committee. She said, demonstrated pattern of failing to keep consumer data private on a scale similar to Equifax. Facebook also allowed malicious Russian state actors to purchase and target ads. Equifax had that big breach a couple years ago. Millions of people data was breached. That's what they're talking about. Representative Patrick McHenry said, we're here to go beyond the headlines. Washington must go beyond the hype to ensure that we are not the place where innovation goes to die. So you can see he's kind of for it. David Marcus, which is the CEO of Libra, said that that's what Libra is about, developing a safe, secure, and low-cost way for people to send money around the world. McHenry then said that why are we doing this in Switzerland? And why are you using a basket of currencies? Why not the good old American dollar? Marcus then replied, said, the choice of Switzerland has nothing to do about evading responsibilities or oversight. The goal of Switzerland is to home this Libra in an international place. That's that's the purpose of uh, them going to Switzerland. They want an international neutral place to go to. Representative Nadia Velasquez said, and these are at different times, not in succinct order. She said these are key moments. She said, "Will you commit yourself to not launch before all the concerns from the Federal Reserve and all the regulators are addressed?" David Marcus then directly replied, said, "Absolutely, Congresswoman, and I want to reiterate this commitment that this was the spirit in which the announcement we announced already." Representative David Scott said, neither your white paper nor your subsequent Facebook posts offer any concrete details as to how you plan to implement or enforce strong anti money laundering, how you plan to enforce know your customer protections, and most importantly, to ensure, and that's what all of us are concerned about, the safety of our financial system. What do you see as the responsibilities of Libra to combat money laundering to protect our financial system? Marcus then directly replied, Libra will have an AML program and will have guidelines for all the members to enforce the AML, KYC, CFT standards. Blockchain gives additional information to law enforcement and regulators compared to our current system. Because blockchain is an open source ledger, it lets you know who owns what, even though it's pseudonymous. It's let you know that who knows what, and it does the footwork for you in terms of trying to track down who owns what. Scott then replied, said, "What are you anticipating as some of the new ways that criminals may attempt to export and exploit Libra for illicit use, and how are you combating this?" Marcus replied, "I couldn't agree more with you, Congressman, and I believe that we can improve on this current system, because we have a chance this time around to think through how the network is designed, the way that the on and off ramps are properly regulated with proper KYC controls, the proper way to monitor new activity and report it with new technologies. And I think the system might be potentially better on those fronts." Okay, here we go. Representative Sean Duffy said, "Who gets to use Calibra and Libra?" Marcus then replied, "Anyone that can open an account, goes through KYC in countries where we can operate." Now, that is a direct example of why this is not a cryptocurrency. A true cryptocurrency is borderless. It doesn't abide by an OFAC list. It doesn't abide by what regulators, government regulators, politicians say. Hey, you, we don't allow you to do that. It circumvents that. It gets over that just by David Marcus, which is the CEO of Calibra. He says that he answered Representative Duffy's question, who gets to use Calibra and Libra. He said that anyone that can open an account, go through KYC, which is know your customer, in countries where we can operate. That's a prime example as to why, excuse me, as to why it is not a true cryptocurrency. So, don't argue with me and saying I'm wrong. It is a cryptocurrency. I'm just reading what David Marcus said. He said it. You can look at the what you call them, the hearings. They're left down in the description. I didn't hide them. Make it difficult for you to go look for them. You can hear it from his mouth. He said it. So yeah. Representative. Now this is funny right here. Excuse me. Representative Brad Sherman said, "We need to get Mr. Zuckerberg here. This is the biggest thing." I don't know why he said this. It's you just have to look at it. It's kind of taken out of context, but he says this is the biggest thing, or this is the biggest thing, or this tries to be the biggest this committee will deal with this decade. And I'm reading this verbatim. Now, we're told by some that innovation is always good. The most innovative thing that happened this century is when Osama bin Laden came up with the idea of flying two airplanes into the Twin Towers. That's the most consequential innovation. Although this will do more to endanger America than even the if cryptocurrency is used to finance the next horrific terrorist attack. 100 lawyers standing in a row charging $200,000 an hour and are going to protect his and are not going to protect his Zuckerberg rear end from the wrath of the American people. Okay, this is what irritates me. Let me get on my soapbox here. These politics, you could tell they don't understand the technology, even though it may be not a true blockchain technology. Facebook and the Libra Corporation is going to do their best to pass it off as a true blockchain technology, which means they're going to take records. They know they're being grilled by all sides, not only from the U.S. government, but all sides of the international governments, other governments around the country, such excuse me, most notably India, China, France, the EU, and other governments concerning this Libra cryptocurrency. They're going to be put through the ringer. And you're telling me, Mr. Representative Brad Sherman, that even though you just said what you just said, which proves to me you do not know what blockchain is, its capabilities, you don't even know the basic boilerplate definition of it is an open public ledger. You don't even know that. And for you to open your mouth and let the drool seep out and say that Osama bin Laden fly planes into Twin Towers, which all due respect for the people who lost lives, family members in that, and you're going to compare it to this. You do not need to be, you should have not been on that stand questioning, taking up space and mass, questioning David Marcus and what this Libra Association is going to be. You just took up time. You probably took up 10 minutes trying to ask that question. Now we got to look at 6 hours and 10 minutes of a hearing that could have been shorter than that to 6 hours. Thank you, sir. Representative Ayanna Presley said, "It is long past time that we stop compromising consumers' privacy in pursuit of profit. Would you trust your money with a company who essentially admits it's just it's just winging it?" Okay, let me step back on not just her. I'm getting back to Representative Brad Sherman. Okay, Facebook's bread and butter is to take your privacy, right? Which means they have a exceptional, impeccable system of gathering data. Can we all agree with that? They're going to take your data, which means they are going to use the most up to date ways to harvest your data. So you mean to tell me that you don't think they're going to do their job and not catching people who are going to be performing illicit activities pertaining to money? I understand with the Russian 2016 thing pertaining to money. Okay, let me get back off my soapbox there. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she's another shining star. I believe we're here today because Facebook, which is a publishing platform, an advertising network, a surveillance corporation, a content distributor, now always want to establish a currency and act through its wallet as a minimum, a payment process. And I'm reading this verbatim. Why should these activities be consolidated under one corporation? I don't know if she was talking about Facebook Corporation. I hope she wasn't. Or the Libra Association. If she's talking about the Libra Association, okay. But if she's talking about the Facebook Corporation, that's a problem. Marcus Dean directly replied, "The one thing we are focused on is solving problems for the very people who are left behind right now. And we believe it's important because we have the ability to invest and the products to deliver those activities that will solve problems. And lastly, Madeline, no one, no, we do need, wait, what? No, we do need to trust you. We absolutely need to trust you. Could you be specific as to the wrongdoing that generated a $5 billion fine? It's tough to trust when the collection, storage, and misuse of the information of your customers generated a $5 billion fine." She said it. The collection, the collection of storage of the information. They will collect your information. Believe that they will. I don't think they're going to say, "Oops, we just lost the information," knowing the scrutiny they're up against. So I just think some representatives are not, and it's fine if you don't know every single thing. It's fine, but don't get up on the stand boasting about, "Oh, what about this? What about that?" And you don't know the technology to begin with, because understanding what you're trying to ask questions about would have solved and answered those questions in the first place. That's my pet peeve. So look at chat. Yeah. I'm Ty City. I'm not. Thank you, Salchi. I'm not here to debate about the Russian collusion. I'm just reading what the representative said. I can give you their Twitter, and you debate them on Twitter. That's the best thing I can say. Y'all have a Twitter account. You can, shoot a few shots in the dark and say, you're dumb. What? I'm not here to debate about the Russian collusion. Representative Waters opens Libra hearing with indictment of Facebook's past mistakes. Today, lawmakers on the United States House of Representatives Financial Services Committee are meeting to discuss the possible effect of Facebook's proposed Libra cryptocurrency project on the financial system. As a Cointelegraph respondent reports on July 17th, Committee Chair Representative Maxine Waters has opened the hearing with an indictment of Facebook's past behavior. In her statement, Waters said that there was a demonstrated pattern of failing to keep consumer data private on a scale similar to Equifax. Waters also stated that Facebook allowed malicious. Okay, again, Ty City. I'm not saying Facebook is doing this. Maxine Waters. You can go to Google and type in Maxine Waters Twitter and let her have it, man. Let her have it. Waters also stated that Facebook allowed malicious Russian state actors to purchase and target ads, which purportedly influenced the 2016 U.S. presidential elections. Waters also emphasized that the committee will be discussing the Keep Big Tech Out of Finance Act. I'm going to read that act on my uh, YouTube page. I think it's about 7 pages long. It's kind of thick in terms of legalese. So I'm going to do a video on it. It's going to be about 30 minutes long because I glanced at it and it's kind of thick in terms of legalese. A draft of the bill recently surfaced with the goal of which would prevent large tech companies like Facebook from creating their own digital assets. Um, yeah, so I just read to let you know that that second hearing, which is about 6 hours long, Representative Warder, which is she's the chair of what she's the chair. I keep forgetting these names of the Financial Services Committee. She opened it up by saying, "Hey, um, of indicting Facebook of their past and most recent past, which was last year, of the Cambridge Analytica scandal." So it was a lot of that going on to let you all know. Let me close that out. All right, Libra controlled by largely massive corporation AOC. During the second day of congressional hearings, New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, grilled Facebook executive director executive David Marcus over con- excuse me over Libra's centralization. The 29-year-old Congresswoman went directly at Facebook for calling Libra a decentralized project. She questioned Marcus over the procedure, which which they handicapped, handpicked 27 founding members for the Libra Association, a so-called nonprofit backing Facebook's cryptocurrency. Realizing that Facebook had installed principal founders using a $10 million investment as one of the criteria, AOC said that the social media giant backed crypto will become a currency controlled by an undemocratically selected coalition of largely massive corporations. Marcus responded by saying that Facebook digital asset does not want to replace sovereign currencies, and their broader purpose is to work with regulators and address all their concerns in due times. She has a point. I will have to agree with her. Another congresswoman that appeared unimpressed with North Carolina Representative Alma Adams, the veteran politician, questioned Marcus whether he would allow everyday consumers to run a node on the everyday consumers on the Libra blockchain, a practice that is common in decentralized blockchains where individuals could set up their own mining rigs to run a network, which is absolutely 100% true. You can do right now, go to not bitcoin.com, because bitcoin.com is owned by Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin.com is owned by Roger Ver, which is the CEO of Bitcoin Cash. He's slick. He's slick. He'll get you if you don't know what you're doing. He'll get you, but you got to go to bitcoin.org and download the Bitcoin wallet, and you can run a node by downloading the full Bitcoin blockchain. It take you maybe a day and a half to download the whole thing, which is like 300 gigabytes right about now. No congresswoman. Well, reading on. No congresswoman. They cannot, replied Marcus, explaining that their criteria allow only big firms and companies with at least background in technology and blockchain or finance to become a member of the Libra Association and who has $10 million. When asked why major companies would make a $10 million investment into Libra, Marcus said their existing partners agreed that the status quo in finance is not working for too many people. They deserve lower costs and easy entry into the digital money structure. That is why they have joined Libra, added Marcus. Okay. But this right here is very interesting. Come on, Mike. Come on, screen. AOC's questions follow Libra's claim of transitioning into a permissionless network. In retrospective, Libra is a blockchain based payment network that would rely on not one but a set of nodes to confirm and store transactions on a public ledger. Excuse me. In the technical paper released last month, the Libra Association stated that their blockchain would initially be centralized and the founding members, which include names like Uber, PayPal, and Visa, would act as nodes. The association promised that over time, they would decentralize the Libra blockchain to distribute its control among more partners. Nevertheless, how would these new members into make into the Libra Club is a question that remains unanswered. Meaning, if they go to a more if they go to a permissionless blockchain, then what will be the criteria of entering the Libra Association then? There are also questions about what incentives investors would have to grow to membership and to give up the float eventually. Jerry Brito, the executive director of Coin Center, said Libra's dream to become a permissionless ledger has technical, legal, and governance challenges, which I do agree. In his tweet, he said that if Libra becomes widely popular and is very profitable, the incentive may be to remain permission and limited to a fixed number of member owners. Clearly, the aspiration is to avoid this, but is there any mechanism in place to counter that incentive slash temptation? So, let's see, he said, and I do quote, I'm not sure how Libra gets to permissionless, at least as I understand that term. I sincerely hope they're able to, though, and am excited to see them try, Brito tweeted. How you doing, Jay Charles? Uh, So to break down what Jerry Brito said in this tweet, I'm going to read his tweet again to explain to y'all what he said, what he means. So he says to Libra, if Libra becomes wildly popular and is very profitable, the incentive may be to remain permissioned and limited to a fixed number of member owners. Clearly, the aspiration is to avoid this, which means to avoid to continue to become permissioned. But is there any mechanism in place to counter the incentive slash temptation? Okay, so let's break that down. Right now, Libra is a permissioned blockchain, meaning to be added, you must meet a few criteria. A few were named in the article, meaning you had to have a history in technology, blockchain, or finance. You have to be a big firm or a corporation and have $10 million. In the Libra white paper, it said that after 5 years, they're going to transfer over from a permission blockchain to a permissionless blockchain, meaning anybody can join. Well, anybody can join. I'm taking it from the current true crypto blockchains, meaning anybody can join the blockchain. Only thing you just need is the wallet and the ledger, the full copy of the ledger to become a node. Um, The problem is, since it's a quote unquote stable coin and is backed by a reserve, those reserves are strategically placed around the world in different banks. They earn interest on that money and they earn interest off of the fees that they charge people, albeit there'll be lower fees for people to send money across border to different people. Those 100 companies, which they want to have grow to be 100 companies in the future, are going to share that windfall of cash. So thereby they're incentivized to keep it permissioned, because the more people they have to share that cash with, the less of cash they receive. So what Jerry Brito is saying, hey, if in 5 years per Libra's white paper, if you say that you're going to go permissionless, and you all these companies are getting all this money, then what's the incentive of them going permissionless and saying, "Hey, we don't want the money"? So you see what I'm saying? They'll be at that time be giving up whatever money they'll be getting. So that's what he's saying. That will be a conflict that they'll have to cross when the time comes. Facebook's markets Libra to satisfy all regulatory matters before launch. So basically, in this article, I know people are like, "Wow, this guy is talking about this up, ain't he?" Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Basically, David Marcus is saying, which he's the CEO of Calibra Wallet. He's saying that actually in the Libra white paper, he said, well, the Libra white paper said that they know the reason they announced this at this time is because they knew they were going to have a lot of backlash from not only the U.S. government, other governments across the world, um, even corporations. They were just going to have a lot of backlash. I even read one article where a financial watchdog, wants the government to do something. Um, they knew they were going to have a lot of backlash, so that's why they came out when they did and said that, hey, this is our project to mull over and smooth out the bumps, the concerns, the regulatory issues from not only America, but from Canada, Australia, the EU, Britain, China, India, Southeast Asia, everywhere, all over the globe. They knew they would have to do this. So that's why this is included in what they deemed as the testnet phase, which is the continue all of this year and the first quarter of 2020. So they knew it. They knew it. And so what Davis Marcus is saying in this article is saying, he's saying is Libra to satisfy all regulatory matters before lunch. So that's basically what this article is talking about. U.S. Rep. Kevin McCarthy praises Bitcoin while criticizing Libra. Uh, all right. United States House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy praised Bitcoin while criticizing Facebook Libra stablecoin. McCarthy made his comments during an interview with CNBC on July 16. During the interview, McCarthy said, and I do quote, "I like Bitcoin. If it, excuse me, is it where it needs to be? No. But the real thing I like when it comes to Bitcoin is blockchain, because I like the security. I want government to actually start using blockchain. Me too, sir. Me too." End quote. He also complained that his concern over technology companies joining finance is anti-competitiveness. McCarthy believes that companies entering the space are looking to create a centralized system while tricking consumers into believing that it is decentralized. This, per McCarthy, will prevent others from participating in the market. He explained that companies have to pay $10 million to be allowed into the system. Companies have to pay $10 million to be allowed into the Libra Association, thereby granting them no power, thereby granting them access to your transactions. Quote, if you're already a big, powerful company that you can pay $10 million, you can enter this and you're going to take away all competition. So you can only use Uber. So you can only go to one certain bank. So you can only use Facebook, end quote. So basically what he's saying is the corporations that join this Libra Association, what the angle he's trying to come at it is, hey, the, all associations or all the businesses that join this Libra association, will you only be able to use Libra with these businesses, with only with Uber, only with Lyft, only with this bank, or only with Facebook? Or will it be a case of, okay, even though these 100 businesses or corporations join the Libra Association, you can still use Libra not only with them, but other places also? That's what he's trying to say. His opinion is seemingly in stark contrast with the declarations of Senator Pat Tomey, who said that he believes that Libra will be launched and the issues surrounding it resolved in another interview with CNBC published the same day. When an interviewer asked Tommy whether he expects Libra to launch or not, Tommy said that, and I do. Tommy said that he expects it will. He declared, and I do quote, "I've got a gut feeling it probably will. I think there are legitimate concerns that can be addressed. I assume that all of the regulations that apply to any financial institution would apply there as well." Still, Tommy admits that regulators really need to think through the fact that digital currencies may in the future be a threat to the monopoly on currencies so far held by nation states. Nonetheless, he also noted that we are not near such a danger from realizing itself, while admitting who knows adoption rates could be quite quick if there's a real major breakthrough. So, in that, he's saying if these US politicians are successful in striking down or preventing Facebook Libra from, kicking off, they may still lose the war because this technology is still out there. So, in essence, they may win the battle in defeating Facebook Libra, but they may still lose the war in digital currencies. That's what he's trying to say there. Good stuff. Good stuff. Look at the chat. Make sure also everyone please hit the like button as you all come in. We really do appreciate it. We really do. All right, let's get it. We almost done here. Get to some big stuff at the end. Senator Brown on Libra, a recipe for more corporate power over markets. So, excuse me. Um, okay. Libra is a recipe for more corporate power over markets and over consumers, according to United States Senator Sherrod Brown, ranking member of the Senate Banking Committee. Senator Brown's recent comments came by way of an official video tweet by a political news outlet, Now This News, on July 16, posted hours after the Senate Banking Committee hearing on Facebook Libra. Brown appeared especially concerned about Facebook gaining the ability to force people to use their money and play by their rules. He remarked, and this is a good comment, quote, "What happens when Facebook forces businesses to quit accepting your credit card or your debit card? You could be forced to use Facebook new monopoly money. What about small business owners forced to use it or lose access to Facebook's millions of users?" That's a good comment. If Facebook forced you to use their Libra, then or Calibra forces you to use Libra, then I'm sure at that point the governments will come down on it. That's not to say it won't happen, but they'll see a whole lot of backlash if it does happen. But that's a good. He does bring up a good point. What if? Reading on. Following today's Senate hearing, Brown told the press that he hoped for a comprehensive privacy law to protect users from big tech companies like Facebook. However, he wasn't confident in the direction it should take. As previously reported by Cointelegraph, former Republican Congressman and Libertarian presidential nominee Ron Paul was more concerned with governments holding a monopoly on money. Paul commented, I do quote, before I do quote this, Ron Paul is a big advocate for Bitcoin, just to let you all know, FYI. Quote, historically, and this is kind of a true quote here, historically, governments always have to have monopoly control over money and credit. Obviously, that's why we have a Federal Reserve. Instead of allowing the market to operate, governments aren't very tolerant of competition, and they're not even tolerant with using the Constitution to compete with the fiat dollar because gold and silver, you can't use it. So Senator Brown does bring up a good point that because of these corporations are over you know this system that poses a problem. In my view, though, I would say, how you doing, Digital Underground, sales and marketing? I would say that what Facebook can do is say to governments, hey, you all form a block and have that block or blocks be sitting members of Facebook. Well, not I keep using Facebook of the Libra Association, or have some type of government liaison sitting on the Libra Association that will appease a lot of government's concerns. Not all, but a lot. Enough, maybe enough for them to be able to continue on and start this Libra Association. Maybe I'm just throwing it out there. They could always do that. I'm not giving them some advice. I'm trust and believe. I'm pretty sure they've thought about this before I said it. So yeah. Libra is so screwed. Should have used Bitcoin, says Samson Mao. Samson Mao is pretty funny from time to time. He's yeah, chief strategy officer at blockchain development firm Blockstream. Blockstream is a blockchain development firm, and FYI, the guy that invented excuse me, the guy that invented the proof of work protocol that Bitcoin now uses, he invented the proof of work protocol in a previous iteration of a cryptocurrency, not a Bitcoin cryptocurrency, but a cryptocurrency, which is called Hashcash. His name is Adam Back. He is the CEO of Blockstream, and he invented the proof of work protocol that Bitcoin uses now. So just to say, Bitcoin did just didn't show up out of nowhere and say, "Hey, I'm Bitcoin and I do this." No, Bitcoin came out of previous iterations, and one of those iterations was Adam Back's Hashcash, which used the proof of work protocol, and thus now Adam Back is the CEO of Blockstream, which is a blockchain development firm, and they work a lot with the Bitcoin code. You see how that all comes around in a circle in a nice little bow? It's nice, ain't it? Samson Mao declared that he believes that Facebook should have used Bitcoin instead of developing its own stablecoin in a series of tweets. In his tweets, Mao noted that after watching the entirety of today's Senate Banking Committee hearing dedicated to Libra, he came to the conclusion that Libra is so screwed. He explained that he had the impression that Mark Zuckerberg had no clear idea of what he was building. Mao added, and I do quote, Libra can't be everything for everyone, and it can't be both open and closed at the same time. End quote. Mao also notes that representatives of the project expressed the idea that since the project is open source, the newly developed network belongs to the community, which will be able to contribute code to it. The association reportedly expects to relinquish control over both the code base and the network through the process. Still, Mao explains that this is seemingly in contrast with other declarations made by Libra representatives. Quote, if this statement is really true, then a dev team will be able to remove the KYC and AML components in a non-Calibra wallet and still be able to interact freely with the network on aside from on and off ramps. So basically what he's saying, hey, if you are a real if if you are a real open source code And I have some questions about what he's trying to say here. He's saying, hey, if you're a real open source code, then people who are make their own Libra wallet can then take your code and say, I'm going to make my Libra wallet, and they can actually remove the KYC and AML components of a non-Libra wallet. Now, my question to him is, are you saying that to be a open source code, then you do not have to have KYC and AML regulations, or you can still be an open source code and still abide by those government rules? That's my question. That was my question to Samson Mao. Continuing reading on. Such a possibility would render the association incapable of keeping another promise made by the representatives. Specifically, and I do quote, wallets will enforce the sanctions that are led by our national security apparatus and treasury. How you doing, Rael? How you doing? So basically, what he's saying that if it was an open source code and people can take off the KYC, AML, or CFT rules, then that would not be, because you will have to abide by government regulations, which are enforcing know your customer, anti-money laundering, or countering the financial terrorism rules, thereby not making you a open source code. So I think he's trying to say, because you have to abide by these rules, then you're not open source. I think that's what he's trying to say. Mao points out that the only way for the association to keep such promises is to be in complete control. Libra representatives also reportedly declared that they want to ensure that people are able to do anything with their stablecoin as long as they have a legitimate use of the project. That's kind of ominous to say. As long as they have a legitimate use of the product is David Mark is saying, as long as you're not have or doing illicit activities, or if you are just holding it in your wallet, then that is illegal. This needs some more clarification on that. Reading on, still, Mao notes that this creates the problem of defining what legitimate use is. He concluded, and I do quote, "It's good, though, that Marcus said we will take the time to get this right. Once Libra is compliant with every jurisdiction, it will just be a more complex PayPal governed by an association. Should have just used Bitcoin." He has a point there. Once Because PayPal wants to become a currency to circumvent governments, or some type of association to circumvent governments, or work just outside the government, shall I say. But they were beat down by compliance, and thus they are the way they are today. They kind of stringent. So what Samson Mao is saying, hey, you are toting the line of being a more complex PayPal because you have to abide by these government rules, thus, which makes you not an official cryptocurrency because you have to abide by government rules. And because of that, you are becoming a more complex PayPal, just governed by an association. So, yeah, Samson Mao made some good points there. Yeah. All right. Look at the chat here. All right. Facebook. You know what? I already went over there. I don't know why I put that in twice. All right, so our last one, this is pretty good. IMF chief economist urges regulatory vigilance on Libra. The International Monetary Fund has called on global regulators to pay attention and take proper regulatory action regarding Facebook Libra. Speaking with Reuters on July 17, Gita, excuse me, Gita Gopinath, chief economist at the IMF, urged the global regulatory community to pay serious attention to Facebook's crypto project during the early stages of its development. Gopinath emphasized that global financial regulators should act immediately to ensure that they are not too late in taking the necessary measures. What she's trying to say is, don't wait too long in the testnet phase or the government tour phase that Facebook is doing in order to implement regulations or any rules that you want Facebook to abide by in your country. Because once this thing gets started, it'll be hundreds of times difficult to try to get Facebook to implement what you want them to do in your country because now you're kind of operating behind an eight ball and Facebook has an incentive to not listen to you now. Gopinath outlined the major risks associated with the stablecoin, including concerns about data privacy, consumer protection, as well as what she called backdoor dollarization. Specifically, don't know what that means. Still, the IMF economist admitted that Libra could help boost financial inclusion. She kind of bashed them and said at the same time, they can still help. It's pretty funny there. Gopinath's remarks come amid a hearing on Libra at the United States House of Representatives Financial Services Committee. Lawmakers in both the House and the Senate criticized Facebook's past behavior in regard to data privacy and consumer protection. Meanwhile, a number of global now this is where it gets good at. Meanwhile, a number of global jurisdictions have expressed their concerns toward Libra and have begun investigating the forthcoming coin. Japanese authorities recently launched an investigation of the impact of Libra on monetary policy and financial stability. Previously, India's authorities claimed that the government would not be comfortable with a private cryptocurrency. On July 8, China's central bank announced it started developing its own digital currency in response to Facebook's Libra, as it could pose a risk to the country's financial system. We can't. You should have kind of knew China would do something. They're more of an authoritarian country, and you kind of should have known they were going to do something. Other authorities are less skeptical. Bank of England Governor Mark Carney recently claimed that people need to acknowledge the issues that Facebook is trying to solve with Libra, despite the potential downsides of the project. So, you find a few needles in the haystack of people that are for or may not be particularly for, but are intrigued with what Facebook is doing as long as they abide by the rules that they set out. A few of them, but a lot of people are skeptical. A lot of governments and politicians and regulators are skeptical. So Facebook is going to go on this governmental tour and try to smooth all the bumps in the road out. So yeah, I'm gonna bring this article up for Nagone, but see if we have any questions. Also, everyone, please hit the like button as you all come in. I forgot to see who was also. Oh, how you doing, Mike? How you doing today?
What's good, bro? I'm chilling, man. I just came back from the blockchain meetup, so
All right, cool. Roger that. Roger that. How was it?
it's good, man. It's good. They had a panel discussion about the usage of Facebook's Libra. So
Oh, hey, Nagone, are you still there? See if he's still there before I read this one. That's what I was telling him about. Excuse me. I don't know if you can hear us, Nagone. Are you still there? All right. Yes. As you all come in, please hit the like button. We really do appreciate it. All right. Could complex Bitcoin derivatives be the next big thing? According to a widely circulated report last week, a number of firms are launching new derivative products tied to Bitcoin. Structured products and bond like derivatives are being conjured up to attract sophisticated investors. While the institutions have yet to arrive in their droves, the 2019 Bitcoin rally has attracted greater interest in some of these esoteric products, according to Zero Hedge. The report cites an original article by the Wall Street Journal published last week. It states that this rally has had a similar effect to 2017, one which spawned the birth of Bitcoin futures. Products such as reverse convertibles are structured offerings that generally consist of a high yield, short term note of the issuer. They are linked to the performance of an unrelated reference asset, in this case, Bitcoin. Zero Hedge adds that extreme caution must be exercised for those considering trading these products. Zero Hedge telling you, please be cautious. Quote, we all remember how Wall Street banks created the synthetic CDOs and other complex derivatives tied to housing worked out. Some assets simply aren't well suited for those types of derivatives. End quote. Basically what they're saying, hey, they don't think cryptos are well suited for these type of derivatives. And also they're saying housing wasn't well suited for those type of derivatives also. Demand for this type of product is pretty thin at the moment, and the Wall Street Journal could only find two firms exploring them. Hedge fund, crypto hedge fund Cipher Technologies is one such firm which began offering structured products on BTC earlier this year. However, founding and managing partner Gerald Banks told the outlet, and I do quote, we would not fathom, please hear this, please, whoever's listening to this, please hear this quote. We would not fathom pushing this to anyone who would not be fully versed in the risk or in the nature of the underlying asset. End quote. As a reverse convertible is one of the products on the table. It is the in- excuse me. In this instance, the client loans money to the firm in return for monthly interest payments and loan payment in full once the contract expires. However, if Bitcoin price falls below a predetermined level, which it did earlier this year, Cypher returns the principal minus the amount BTC has lost. GSR, another crypto firm led by former Goldman Sachs commodities traders, has unveiled various products this year. Some of them include binary options, which pay on price direction, and variance swaps, which pay out based on Bitcoin price volatility. SEC unconvinced. Former SEC economist Craig McCann thinks these so called investment products are a bad idea. So do I. According to him, there are all kinds of problems associated with any structured product tied to Bitcoin. At the moment, these niche products are yet to attract wider interest, but this was also the case when CBOE and CME launched their futures in December 2017. What it does show is that the space has matured enough over the past couple of years to even get complex Bitcoin derivatives on the table. I covered this on my channel, and I am going to tell you all what I said on my channel. You have complex derivatives, CDOs, complex derivative offerings, binary offerings, variance swaps, on top of what Binance, BitMEX, and other cryptocurrencies are doing and are going to do, which is margin trading, futures also. Do not do this. If you have not been exposed to these type of offerings pre 2008, and have not had any, and again, we're not financial advisors, but we talking one on one here. If you have not had any exposure, I'm not talking about had a house, was a financial trader in these offerings pre 2008, do not jump into this. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is not the space for you to first jump into this. You will lose all your money. It is not a good look when everyone is gaining money, gaining gains on cryptocurrency, and you're in the hole. That's not a good look. It's not a good look. Do not do it. I'm telling you, they're gonna be you're gonna come to YouTube and you're gonna go into the crypto space and you're gonna see these thumbnails, these clickbait thumbnails with the rocket with the dust coming out the back. It's going to be talking about moon and Lambos and spacesuits and beers on drinking beer in a spacesuit on the moon, and they're going to be talking about join this and do this, and you're going to see these alphabet telecoms such as CNBC, MSNBC, Fox, whatever, and they're going to say if you would have put money into such and such at this time, you would be worth X amount this time, and you're going to think to yourself, well, I can still do that if I can just leverage this, derivative of that, future contract this, take out a loan here, max my credit cards, take out a housing loan. You think I'm playing, but I'm serious because in 2017 people were doing this then. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I don't know if Lagon's still there. You have any comments on this one, Mike?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about Bitcoin futures or any sort of crypto futures because it's synthetic in thought, right? Because it's not those cryptos are not really backed by anything, right? As opposed to like gold futures, silver futures, bullions, and things of that nature. Those are actual tangible items that can actually be are reciprocated with actual physical product. With cryptos, it's not so much. Um, you're kind of just going off of a piece of paper or some kind of memo pad that was written. It was written down on, and that's not really tangible. Um, so when it comes to Bitcoin futures or any sort of crypto futures, I'm very wary of that um, because there's no proof of stake there. If you just want cryptos, then just go out and actually get the crypto that you want. Otherwise, it's not making a whole lot of sense. Cryptos and fiat is two completely different concepts in itself. One's backed by the military, the other one is kind of, it's out there. It's not really tied in with anything of anything tangible. So I would be very wary of any sort of crypto futures going forward. I know it sounds good to actually get yourself into it, but I think the money is actually better put towards an actual crypto. That's my take on that.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it's not a good look on a proper bull run. Everyone's gaining gains, and you just losing money because you want to be greedy. It's gonna these scams are gonna be there. These clickbait titles are gonna be there.
hmm
It's gonna be there.
When I went to the crypto meeting tonight and last week, or so I think it was 2 weeks ago, but there were guys there, millennials there, who pulled up in Lambos. They made out well during the rocket phase of Bitcoin, and then they got out. Some guys lost. I talked to one guy; he lost 80 grand, and then there was other guys who made out pretty well. So you do have winners and losers in the game. But I listen to the guys who lose too because try to figure out where they went wrong. And then there's the guys who did luck out. They jumped out in the right time and jumped in at the right time. They were just fortunate to not get bitten or not have their wallet taken off their desktop or anything like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they're very these guys are these people I should say were at least a couple years ahead of anything that I had ever had conversations with online. To hear them talk about it in person is vastly different. Very very much geeks, very much nerds, and were very resolute in their convictions. So they would have these large arguments, man. I mean, it sounds like they're about to fight, but they're actually just passionate about what they believe in and what they can prove. So um, tip my hat to those guys over in Boston, man, for having that blockchain crypto meetup and had consensus on tonight. The founder consensus was there, so
Um, Joseph Lubin.
yeah,
Oh, it's cool. It's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So just to hear to hear that from people on the ground is actually a pretty interesting take. than to try to apply that to people on Hangouts and stuff like that, because you get to hear and see the body language and tell if anybody's really
Mm-hmm.
trying to run game and try to hoodwink you. So uh, that's what happened for me tonight. Why I was kind of late coming to the Hangout, but definitely some some interesting discussions about security and blockchain. You know, guys talking about they'll pop your box and take your wallet from you. Um, and they're very these are guys who came from the NSA. You know, they work with Snowden. They work with other individuals that they couldn't name, but they were definitely top notch red team guys. If they said if they want your wallet, we'll come get it. So make sure that you keep your wallet in cold storage. No hot wallets here, no warm wallets, no hot pockets, none of that stuff.
Yeah, I
Secure your
tell.
storage.
Yeah. Two things. With the people who lost money in 2017, I s- three ways they lost money:
Hmm.
getting in on the top.
Hmm.
No, four ways: not selling at the top.
Hmm.
They might have got in early and that didn't sell at the top.
Hmm.
Got in at the top, and the market went down, collapsed. They joined a Ponzi scheme, and or they tried to trade. People saying like, "Oh, yeah, I trade this, I trade that." They tried. They had that trading it the first time, and it didn't turn out well.
Hmm.
Those are the four major ways people lost money in 2017, fourth quarter 2017.
Hmm.
Now, what you're seeing, more institutions coming into this, more ways to lose money. I saw it. Don't do it. It's not fun. Um, I know it's gonna sound sexy. Futures, hey, yeah, I do Bitcoin futures. Don't do it. If this is your first time indulging in these type of ventures, you will. There's a high probability that you will lose your money.
Hmm.
Um, Also, I said on my page, well, my channel, crypto Twitter is big because of Jack Dorsey. He's pro crypto. A lot of people that talk about crypto, talk about crypto, talk about crypto. People even say how much they got on crypto on Twitter. People look at that and they say, you might not know they may not see your real name, but when they find out, they'll do what you call it, social engineering on you. So
Oh yeah.
don't one of the three one of the three golden rules of crypto. There's more golden rules, but the one of the three is don't tell nobody how much you got, and don't tell nobody you do crypto. Don't tell nobody how much you got.
Hmm.
So yeah, Nagone must be doing something.
Yeah, he might be on a different hangout too.
Uh,
Might be listening to something. But yeah, definitely make sure your desktop has that antivirus protection on it. Make sure you got your cold storage encrypted. Make sure that's encrypted too. That's a
yep.
good security measure, because um, you don't want to leave that thing in plain sight. So encrypting your cold storage is actually very beneficial.
Yeah, I tell people, if you do, I'm with you on the cold storage. If you do have your stuff on your desktop, encrypt it. Once you download the wallet, encrypt it, and get your private key from that wallet. Because if something happens, you will have that private key, and once it's encrypted, and this is just pertaining to a desktop wallet, it says it's encrypted. You you'll have some time before they crack that encryption code, which is nothing but a password, and you will
Make it
download it, right, get a new download a new wallet and put your private key in, and you good.
Yeah, and make it complex. A complex password is first letter is always capitalized. Um, you have eight other letters, and then you have some numbers, at least two numbers, and then some form of a character, whether it's a exclamation point, a question mark, a hashtag, or a dash. Sometimes you don't get the ability to add dashes to a complex password, because it's such a negative variable, but definitely use a exclamation point. You want to make the processors that are out today, um, these new AMD processors, these new NVIDIA GPUs. These things are so powerful they can crack passwords in just a couple of minutes. So um, try to make it as complex as possible. Again, first letter is always capitalized. Rest of your letters have to be at least 7 to 8 variable letters, and then numbers. Usually, you want to throw a number in the middle to make it complex, and add a number to the end, and then add some form of a special character like an exclamation point or a question mark. Um, and yeah, 12 characters is usually what most corporations would have. Um, most people using their computers at home will try to do the bare minimum, which is 8. 8 is not enough anymore because these new processors, these new GPUs will crack right through that just in a few seconds, or if not a few minutes. So make that password complex, encrypt that hard drive of code storage that you have. Um, also, always test your cold storage too. External USB hard drives, thumb drives. Always make sure you test that stuff, man. Sometimes I've seen people leave their USB thumb drives in their pants, and then they go wash it at the laundromat, and then they figure it out after it's all said and done, and then their wallet is gone. Not only that, they got skinny jeans now, but they got no data.
Yeah, man.
It happens, man. Accidents
Yeah,
happen. So
yeah.
I got myself a nice, secure little case logic container that I put my USB hard drive in there with my wallet. Um, and it has a hard shell to it. So if I drop it off the table, drop it down a flight of stairs, that sucker is secure. You can even roll a car over it, and then it's pretty secure in there because it's the hard shell.
Um, Paul asked about Bitcoin wallets. I'm not familiar with Bitcoin wallets. There's a lot of wallets out there. Wallets are coming out left and right, so I'm not familiar with a lot of the wallets out there. So I'm not familiar with it. YubiKey, yeah, I've YubiKey is gaining traction in crypto.
Yeah, everybody's gonna come up with their own little mechanisms and stuff, but always play by the standard rules.
Yeah, yeah,
Whether or not you trust a certain type of wallet or a certain type of new feature of a different product is up to you.
yeah. But this crypto man, I'm pretty sure you saw that crypto, I'm not crypto, blockchain hangout. They serious about it. They believe that this is the future, and they believe a lot of people can make a lot of money off this stuff.
They're developers. Most of those guys there were developers. They develop blockchain. These are not some amateurs, behind hiding behind avatars. These are real developers who make lots of money, who are very, very much well invested into it and get paid a lot to do what they do. Most of them are either starting their own startups or came from a startup at some point. And hearing those Lambos and Ferraris rev their engines outside, man, that tells you that these guys are serious. They're not playing games.
Yeah,
So black people get, you know, you better step your game up. Better step your game up. Better be a part of those blockchain study groups. Better know that thing inside out. Be able to speak it when someone asks you a question. You can't say I don't know. See a certified financial planner in your area. Nope, that CFP.net does not work with blockchain. It's applicable to finance, but it's not applicable to blockchain. So you got to know your stuff because these guys are coming.
yeah. And I've been busy on an email. I know people email me. I've been, man, covering this stuff. Trying to keep up with these articles and doing other things. But I'm gonna reply to people's emails. But yeah, this thing is deep, man.
Yep.
Man, I hear when I go through my articles every day, I see so much information about blockchain news. This company doing this company. I'm like, golly.
Hmm. Well, yeah, because there's so much. There's so many venture capitalists who are interested in it, and they have a lot of VC capital to actually pump into it. So for them, they see a project that as a gold mine. For some people like tonight, man, they were calling out the vaporware. Guys who are pumping up a product that really can't that really has no legs to it, no future to it. So they're calling that stuff out too.
Yeah, I've seen that in the articles that, 'cause, man, I read about a couple hours a day, and after a while, you get a sense of what's going on in the industry. But
Hmm.
it's hard to convey that because I've got that sense, and it's like, wow, you're trying to tell other people, and they really put their heart and feelings into stuff, and it's hard to tell them, like, listen, man, these people are competing in this field. Me personally, I think a cryptocurrency, the number one thing a cryptocurrency should do is allow you to send money across borders. That's a feature of all cryptocurrencies. Okay, that's fine. What else can you do? That's a basic built-in feature of a cryptocurrency.
Hmm.
Basic built-in. It's not nothing other than Bitcoin. It's not nothing that's exceptional. Okay, what else can you do? You know?
Yeah, yeah. There has to be a case study being performed to demonstrate the use case behind it, and it had to actually been executed at some point because um, one demonstration is all it really takes to convince investors to actually get behind it. A lot of the times, some of these use cases are bogus. Not, no, I shouldn't say that they're bogus, but they haven't been tested in the real world. So that's why you're starting to see a lot of guys, or I shouldn't say a lot of guys, a lot of startups. They're going into third world countries, developing countries. Venezuela is a good test case. When what happens when the money runs out? What happens when your currency spirals out of control? How do you implement digital infrastructure as an alternative to societal collapse, institutional collapse? That's a very good use case, and that's what um, most of these companies are starting to look at. So, or these startups are starting to look at.
Yeah. Seeing
That's
some
that's all I got.
seeing some yeah, if y'all have any more questions, let us know. Nothing else. Appreciate you all coming out. Appreciate you all tuning in. Please hit the like button as you all can come in. Like, comment, and subscribe. And with that said, we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.